Who doesn't love movies? If you don't love movies like we love movies, you're wrong. The sports ball people have their fantasy leagues, but what about us film nerds? The Fantasy Movie League was born. And each week, you choose 8 movies for our personal cineplexes and compete in leagues for the highest grossing box office total. Of course, each cineplex has to build their lineup within a budget, with each movie costing a certain amount. So, let the FML chatter begin! Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us once again in the Fantasy Movie League chatter for Week 8/Week 9. We're back again in Completing the Shelf Studios. Thank you so much for joining us once again. So sorry we were out last week in the red tent. Things sort of escalated on us in that red tent, and it turns out we are back here, and we have unfortunately lost our spot in line for the lovely debut of the Emoji Movie. We'll see what we can do to get that spot tomorrow and see if we can still get in for a Thursday night premiere. But anyway,
I have a
Chris,
few days left of summer, so
yes,
you've been skipping out on the mouse work this whole time. But after this movie, we got to get back to our jobs.
Yes, indeed. So yes, we were wonderfully told by the local sheriff's deputies, if you will, that they were getting complaints of us considering that we were somehow trespassing and or loitering in our little red tent. And there had been complaints of odors, apparently. We were nose blind after like day 4.
That's because those guys were peeing on our tent.
Yeah, I think that didn't help in any way, shape, or form. And I think it was other vagrants who were upset with how we were trying to upend their style of living. The generator went out after day 5, so we tried to, I don't know. It was bad. It was just very bad, so we just kind of gave up last night. Refreshed, took a shower, came back to the studio today, and we're going to record a proper episode for you guys. So we appreciate you bearing with us while we get back to full strength, if you will.
Fully shaved, too. We needed it.
Shave the face, shave the head. Well, I didn't shave my head. I got a haircut at some point after we left the tent, so it feels much better. It doesn't feel as scuzzy, you know. But yeah, lots to talk about, lots to recap, lots to look forward to as we are talking about the cinema. So last week, of course, we did not give you a full episode, but we kind of gave you our 2 cents about what was coming out. The 3 films debuted unexpectedly for some, expectedly for others. We'll talk about that, certainly, and we'll look ahead to Week 9, where 2 new films, including our aforementioned Emoji Movie, will be debuting into your cinemas. So let's just dive right in. We'll talk about how Dunkirk, not surprisingly, came out as the opening champion of weekend. That was the ending of the 23rd, I think that was. Yeah. The days started blurring in the tent, so certainly you can understand why we got a little lost in the havoc of what was going on. We watched lots of happy fans drive right by our tent saying they were delighted to see Dunkirk. In fact, my mom and dad brought his parents, a veteran of World War II, to see Dunkirk, and they're like, well, we didn't even know about that at all. And we were kind of hinting at that. It's that other perspective of World War II prior to the American involvement in the European theater. So, $50.5 million in weekend gross, halfway to their budget from their original film production. So, that's good for them. And it will lead us to our trivia question towards the end of the episode, of course. So,
well, can you remind our listeners what that question was?
Yeah, I think I'll bring it back up. We asked you a trivia question in the tent of the 3 highest grossing movies directed by the same director of Dunkirk, Christopher Nolan, that was not part of his Batman trilogy, which included Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises. So,
not a good movie.
That's the reminder.
That last one, not a good movie. Just saying.
Again, Warner Brother disagrees. They have lots of money because of that movie.
Money doesn't equal good, Alex.
Yeah, that's true, and good sometimes does not equal money. Just ask the War for the Planet of the Apes. There's 2 sides of that argument always, and we can argue each side well enough. But again, the trivia question, Christopher Nolan, what were his top 3 opening weekend successes outside of the Batman trilogies that he directed, not including this most recent Dunkirk. So we'll recap that later on. We'll cover that, retrace our steps. So yeah, Dunkirk came out $50.5 million in its opening weekend gross.
Not bad at all.
No, sadly I was giving it, if we were giving a true preview of it and forecasting its possible ceiling, I would have said somewhere in the ballpark of 65 to 70. So to see it only come out at 50 and a half, I'm a little surprised.
I'm not. I mean, yes, Christopher Nolan is a name that draws people to the theater, but it's a historical movie.
Right.
You know, I think it looks awesome. I cannot wait to see it. I've only heard good things about it, but the draw
yeah.
is not going to be in the $70 million range like a Spider-Man or Wonder Woman or Guardians. So for what it is and the quality of it, I think this is a decent performance, and I really hope it makes that budget back.
Agreed.
Because I want more excellent movies like this. Who knows what is he going to do next? That's exciting about this kind of director. Like,
yeah, what else can he tell? What else can he story tell for us? That's, I think, the big interesting take.
well, he's going in different genres too, and playing around and really stretching himself. So I am curious. Maybe he'll do a rom-com. No, please don't.
Hopefully he can do a rom-com about 11 or 12 guys trying to rob. No, wait, that's been done before. Never mind. Well, it wasn't even a rom-com. It was just half action com. Before there was a thing like Guardians, where there was a big troop of wonderful people making people laugh and providing action. But that's not something we'll worry about now. We'll kind of move on.
Is that neither here nor there?
I'm not saying that.
Take a shot. Take a shot, Jennifer.
No, wait. No, you said it. I didn't say it. If I say it, they take a shot.
You know, I did see your wife this past weekend, and she says she starts to say those kind of phrases now in her daily life because of you.
Oh, you're welcome, sweetie. That's what marriage does. It brings the best out of both people.
And the best you have to offer is repetitive phrases.
That is factually correct. So Dunkirk came out number 1. Number 2 on the list of weekend grossing films. Surprise of the week for us. And I think it was very, very long-standing for that weekend as the potential bonus performer. This was Girls Trip, the seemingly more commercially successful take on what was Rough Night from earlier this year. I think it was a little bit lighter because no one died, which is nice. It's nice when people don't die in the movies. So, we'll take what we can get from that. Girls Trip debuted at $31.2 million. And it was being offered, I think, somewhere in the realm of like $200, $300 a screen. So that's why it was kind of on that higher pegging, if you will, of being a bonus performer over the weekend. That ended up going to a film we have seen on this list many a time, and we've talked about many a time, The Big Sick. $5 million last week, which was good enough for 8th place, down 3 spots. But I'll take a look at the last week and kind of take you through that, walk you through that with Chris in a moment here, of course. Girls Trip number 2, the other debut movie which did not come out to commercial and or critical success in any way, shape, or form, was Valerian in the City of a Thousand Planets.
I know. I wanted this to do better.
And for a budget of $177 million, I'm sure a lot of folks wanted this to do better. But yeah, Luc Besson and the movie he's been wanting to make apparently for years on end does not hit the right note for some. Rotten Tomatoes has this movie currently sitting at 54% in terms of its review standing from the critics. The fans have only given it a 59% as well. So while it's a visual just spectacle of what it is, I think the rest of the movie falls hopelessly down from that high mark.
So I haven't seen the movie yet. I still kind of want to see it because when I first heard of this, movie, I went and read a bunch of the graphic novels. This is a European comic. They're very light. They're kind of shallow, but interesting stories and worlds. There's not much to it though, and so European comics don't do well in America as it is. So thinking that's gonna do well in the cinema too, it's tough. Um, so it hasn't come out internationally yet, I
No,
think.
of the countries internationally has come out, it is only in the lovely nations of Bulgaria, Czech Republic, Hungary, Iceland, Romania, Slovakia, and of course, South Africa.
So I'm waiting for more Western countries. France, I think it was made in
More of
France.
those first world nations. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
France,
yeah.
England, Germany, Spain, Italy, those sort of, and even the Hollands and Amsterdams and Swedens of the world. Those will hopefully get that number to where its budget can hopefully make it a net
Like
no
the
loss.
Tintin movies. Did you ever see the Tintin movie?
No, I can't say that I did, unfortunately.
It was so fun. And that was based off of more European graphic novel type stuff. And I'm looking up now what it did foreign. Yeah, it did so much better foreign. 79% of its budget of its profit came from the foreign market. And so I think a similar thing is going to happen here with Valerian.
I hope so.
I hope so.
That is a lot of money to throw away on Dane DeHaan.
Well, he didn't work too well for Amazing Spider-Man.
No, it's like another. That's a whole nother discussion of what is Dane DeHaan, because they love him to death, and I don't kind of get it. Again, Valerian, the City of a Thousand Planets, debuting at number 5. So not terrible, but considering what else is available, not good. Spider-Man in its third week in the theaters, down almost a full 50% to 22 and almost under a quarter. War of the Planet of the Apes down over 63%, while gaining screens in theaters. Don't ask me how that works. $20.8 million. So again, it's not reaching what it's supposed to.
I mean, it's almost at 100 million.
Yeah, it dropped from number 1 to number 4. That's not good. The foreign is helping it. It's just now hitting its over budget for its grossing in its markets across the planet, so that's okay. But I can't ask you to play that if it's going to make this much of a cataclysmic drop right now, down from number 1 to number 4.
Yeah.
That's a tough ask to have you put that in your screens. But hey, we're not the ones getting the number 1 perfect cineplexes each week, so we're just here for talkings and funs and
Yeah, I definitely didn't get the number 1 this week.
yeah, making sure you can get through your work day. So glad you're working so hard listening to our pod. Cough,
Megan.
cough. Megan, love you.
Why are we saying that with like this terrible sarcasm?
No, not at all. Not at all. Just, making sure our productivity and our nation's workforce is as able as possible, or disabled as possible if they're listening to us. I don't know how that works. Moving on.
Or distracted.
I guess.
Make sure those T-shirts get to the soldiers, Megan.
Yes, please. Quickly.
All right. So, are we ready to move on?
We can. Let's talk about what's happening here in Week 9. 2 new wide releases coming out. The one we've spoken of for a few weeks now that I just can't seem to take my mind off of is the Emoji Movie, the movie we've been asking for since iOS 5, I'm sure.
The movie that says that we can feel more than one emotion at a time.
An adventure beyond words. Ha ha ha.
It's interesting, since Toy Story, we have these movies that try and take some small thing in our world that we don't pay attention to,
Right.
and bring it to life, like food with the Sausage Party, or
Right.
like emojis. Inside your phone, they have this whole, or Legos too, right?
Wreck-It Ralph. What happens when the video game turns off? Yeah, all those sorts of things. Very fun stuff. Very interesting to see what happens when we're not paying attention to the things we are kind of vised with in our lives, whether it is technology, toys, or what have you, or both. So the vocal sort of collection of stars they have for this movie involves the not only T.J. Miller, James Corden, Anna Faris, Maya Rudolph, and as you mentioned, Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the USS Enterprise, Patrick Stewart.
Make it so, number 2. He's poop. Number 2.
Yes, it's very ironic, I know. But it also features the vocal talents of Christina Aguilera, Sofia Vergara, Stephen Wright, Rachel Ray, Sean Hayes, Jake T. Austin, Jeffrey Ross. I mean, it's kind of like a comedy who's who as you continue down this sort of list of folks who are in this movie, making their vocal sort of performances for emotions in our phones.
I think the buffet of recognizable voices is the only thing that's going to get people through this dumb film.
I mean, we were.
I could barely sit through the trailer.
Now, I feel like we were excited to see this. Is this because we lost our spot in line now? Is this why this is happening?
Oh, I'm excited to see it. Because like Patrick Stewart's character, it'll be a stinking pile of... Anyway, but
it's
it'll
like
be fun.
watching the train wreck. You can't turn your eyes away, but you have to just keep watching it just to see what happens.
That's right.
I
And
think
who's the lead again?
T.J. Miller, who plays
I don't like him.
Gene.
Yeah. I do not like him. He just annoys me. I don't know.
It's okay. It's an acquired taste. I'll give it that. James Corden plays the high five emoji. Anna Faris plays a character known as Jailbreak. Maya Rudolph is a smiler.
The premise, did you watch the trailer?
I kind of did, but I turned it off in my brain after like 2 minutes, which is like, okay, 2 minutes in trailer life is like 15 seconds in trailer talk. So,
So in the trailer, the premise of this film is crazy. Like T.J. Miller's character, he's a meh emoji.
yes.
And his parents are too. And like his job is to, when he's called upon by his phone's user, he needs to pop up and project that emotion. But this emoji, he wants to experience the full range of emotions. He thinks he can experience more than just meh. And so when he's called upon, his phone's user sends a text to a girl he's crushing on, and our TJ Miller meh emoji, he just like is confused and sends this weird emoji to the girl, and it starts this whole journey of trying to figure out who he is and break the firewall and reprogram himself, blah, blah, blah. Okay, it's the whole movie there. Like, I know exactly what's going to happen.
Say, you want the good news? It's only 86 minutes long.
Hey, speaking of length of a film, I just read that the Avengers Infinity War movie is going to be over 2.5 hours long.
That's fine.
I'm totally cool with that.
Yep, totally on board with that. 3 hours, cool. 4 hours, okay.
I mean, the Lord of the Rings came out getting at that
Yes.
3 hour mark without justifying it. I think, since 2008, leading up this 20 movie arc.
Yes, you've been building this up, right? This is something that we want.
And my new theater is going to be built by November with recliners, so I'll be comfy.
Nice. Side note on the Emoji Movie, this is directed and written by Tony Leondis, which you may remember from such wonderful films, including Lilo and Stitch 2. Stitch Has a Glitch.
Oh, gosh.
Igor, and Kronk's New Groove, in which he has writing credits, including the screenplay and story.
Is Kronk
as well
a character from The Emperor's New Groove?
That would be Kronk, yes, from The Emperor's New Groove.
Okay.
And
I haven't
they
seen
made
the movie forever.
Yeah, don't worry. Pull the lever, Kronk. Wrong lever. That's all you need to know about Emperor's New Groove for the purposes of this pod.
So this guy is known for making sequels that don't matter
Or kids
other Disney movies.
Multi-generational comedy animated films, I guess, if that's how you want to look at it. He co-wrote the movie with Eric Siegel, who has had a lot of different writing credits, but nothing of note that we can kind of sink our teeth into. So that's just how I kind of look at it. So I'm a little perplexed / annoyed / bothered by the fact that it's the top priced movie for you to pick this week at $400 a screen. All that being said, which kind of begs the question, do you think it's going to hit $40 million?
Ooh, I mean, we haven't had a pure kids movie in a
And this
while.
isn't even a kids movie. This is somewhere between the horrid, decrepit, over-the-top, raunchy humor that was Sausage Party and a animated film like Cars 3. This is I don't know if you can find a middle ground
Is this gonna be
between those two.
raunchy? I didn't get that
It
from
has
the
a
trailer.
PG rating, but again, there is poop, there is the devil, there is a lot of toilet humor with Poop and Poop Jr. I mean, I don't know how to take this movie. I guess they're trying to gear it for all ages because all ages use emojis if they have the smart technology at their disposal.
Yeah, my
I
my
I
uh,
don't I
seven
don't
month old,
get it.
she's emojiing. No, she's not. Thank goodness. But
Wow. I know. I mean, I mean, let's start crawling and then giving her a smartphone. Is she at least crawling?
she is crawling now. Yay!
And the crowd goes wild. And boom goes the dynamite.
Is that a
Yes.
new saying you're gonna throw around?
No, no, that's been around for eons.
Well, I know it's been around. Are you bringing it newly to the
I am.
show?
I am not going to. I'm not going to do that. No, no. Boom goes the dynamite is not something I regularly say, but shout out to Brian Collins, Go Ball State. He's the one that kind of made that the meme that it was. I think from way back when.
I see.
But yes, Emoji Movie, $400 a screen, also coming out this weekend. Atomic Blonde.
This looks fun.
Starring. This looks like a hoot. Charlize Theron is the lead. She appears alongside James McAvoy and John Goodman.
All good.
This is going, yeah, all good things. Only a $30 million budget. From the sound of it, the immersive training that Charlize underwent to kind of polish this character to be what many are calling the female James Bond, which I'm okay with.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a fine sort of pedestal to put her on for this one. That is cool. Yeah, why not? Jamie Bond or Gemma Bond? Gemma Bond. Gemma Bond has that proper British sound to it. Anyway, Atomic Blonde, it is being released on how many screens, Chris? See, okay. I thought now we're gonna have to now we're gonna edit this, and these people are gonna hear how B-rate this. No, it's 3,300.
Okay.
3,300 theaters, courtesy of Focus Features, the alternative indie label thing, people's movie studio. Yes, big word there, movie studio.
If you will.
But yes, Atomic Blonde, which apparently had a project name of The Coldest City before getting a much flashier name in Atomic Blonde.
Better name, yes.
Yeah, I agree. That is an R rating. It is considered part of the thriller genre of movies.
Great music video.
It's just a thriller. Okay, that's enough of that. Sorry.
72% on Rotten Tomatoes. Not what I want to see.
That's
But a 97% want to see.
the
from
fans. Yes, I know.
Here
I
is
mean,
the critics' consensus. Atomic Blonde
Yes.
gets enough mileage out of its stylish action sequences and ever magnetic star to make up for a narrative that's somewhat less hard-hitting than its protagonist.
Okay, now I'm worried because if you flip the switch on Rotten Tomatoes from the all critics to the top critics, it plummets down into like the crap sort of not fresh area of the world. 57% from the top critics, whatever that
Yeah.
means. I'm worried about how this is critically being looked at because there have been good action movies that have come out over the past 6 weeks. Baby Driver, Spider-Man, War of the Planet of the Apes. And that's just a smattering of them that don't include what's been out for weeks on end. Transformers, Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, I'm not saying this is one of those films where I'm going to keep sitting here pounding my chest and saying, why? This is different. This is live action. I don't see a lot of CGI when I'm looking at the trailer. This is something that a lot of movie elitists, if you will, want, is that live action sort of filmmaking that has been lost to the glorious spectacle that is computer graphics.
Well, what I can see as I'm skimming through the
You just
reviews.
missed what I did there. CG, glorious. Never mind. I tried. I went on a limb. This is as bad as my surf and turf joke. You're right. I'm sorry.
I can't even put together what the joke is.
No, I said it was computer graphics are the completely glorious visual spectacle. CG, completely.
Oh, wow,
Yeah, we're trying to get back to full strength, folks.
that
I'm
is
sorry.
that is
It's
subtle. That's woven in there. Just the
yeah,
tapestry of FML chatter has been enriched by this.
yeah, that was lit. But yes, again, I would want this movie to do better than its forecasted price per screen of only $289 per.
What I can tell you is this just looks like you're going to get fun spectacle action, but not much story, which is probably what you want from a movie called Atomic Blonde.
Yeah, I know. It makes composition that much tougher for the rest of the screens because
Yes.
I don't know if it'll commercially hit above what Girls Trip did this weekend at 30 and change, which is unfortunate because this movie is supposed to be very, very good. I think over time it will get to a gross that's somewhere in the realm between Captain Underpants and Baby Driver, so maybe a sweet spot of around 75 to 80 for like Lifetime.
Sure.
But I just don't get a sense, and the fan sense from what Rotten Tomatoes is wanting to tell me is that it will do well.
Yeah, they're anticipating it.
So to shortcome it at only 35 to 40 million is tough to do, considering there is still an Emoji Movie that it's pitted against. And do that. Is it this Emoji Movie that's going to give that last breath of summer for those folks that are heading back to school sooner rather than later for some?
Sad emoji.
Yeah, sad emoji, crying emoji, meh emoji for others. You pick your emoji for that. Again, this is where I could see where Emoji Movie could break that $40 million ceiling because it's families who haven't had a decent movie to watch after Spider-Man, and they may have already seen Spider-Man. It's been almost a month since that's happened, believe it or not. So yes, those are the two new movies coming out. Let's just kind of give you a runner as to what is available this week from the bottom to the top. Guardians is no longer a best of the rest play. So they've been spared for that this week. It's now only $4 instead of being a mystery movie at $5. Transformers $6. Cars 3 $14. Wish Upon, the horror movie that fell flat, $15. Wonder Woman $39. Big Sick $44. Baby Driver $52. Valerian under $100. Despicable Me $100. War for the Planet of the Apes $126. Spider-Man $151. Girls Trip $219. Atomic Blonde $289. Dunkirk $373. Emoji Movie $400. And again, you still only have $1,000 to spend, which begs the question: where is the money, Lebowski? Did I just miss? Did you miss that reference? Did that just fly over your head? I'm sorry.
I've never seen that movie.
I just don't know what to say to that. The Big Lebowski is cinematic gold.
I know I've had students say, you gotta watch it, you gotta watch it. I'm like, I will this summer. And then I load my summers up with so much. Like, I'm supposed to study Kendrick Lamar this summer in preparation for teaching a little bit of him, but I haven't gotten to him.
You're going to be teaching students Kendrick Lamar.
The clean versions.
Wow. I mean, English has come a long way, clearly.
Everything is applicable for my English class because we're creating all the time as humans. Why should we be stuck in the 19th or the 18th century?
No, yeah. You can only read Scarlet Letter so many times.
I never read it.
That was the
Like
joke.
the main character, I've been scarred by the Scarlet Letter.
I was going to say, this is feeling like one of those times when I've been looking at my news feed on my Facebook and on my social media, and all I see are these videos where there are grown men staring each other in the face, poker face to one another, giving bad dad jokes back and forth, and one of them has to crack, and The one who doesn't laugh is considered the winner. I'm like, no
Oh,
one
that
wins.
was a good video. That
There's
was a great
so
video.
many riffs on that now. It's just amazing. But I'm sitting here watching them like, nobody wins watching this. Well, I've
Okay, okay.
lost time.
We have to do this. Give me your best dad joke. This is an FML chatter interlude right here.
What has 6 ears, 4 eyes, and 3 noses?
6 ears, 4 eyes, 3 noses. I have no idea.
Something really ugly.
Oh, that's terrible. And yet wonderful.
Okay.
Mine.
Go ahead, sir.
This is for those Whovians out there, which I am not one. But knock knock.
Who is there?
Doctor.
Doctor Who?
No, just Doctor Who. Right? You don't say who twice. You ruined my dad joke.
No, wait a minute. If it's a knock knock joke, you say knock knock blank. Who is there? Blank. And then you give the thing that's there
And you say
blank who.
yeah. So I said doctor, and you said Doctor Who? You're supposed to say Doctor Who.
See, you lost. I won the game. Anyway, moving back to our fantasy movie league
We
chatter.
both lost.
Probably. We lost our fan base because of
Did
it.
we have a fan base?
Well,
we have my sister.
We gave a shout out to Megan, a shout out to our wives, and who are still in the league. Anyway, screen composition is tough this week. Let's go back to that. Screen composition is tough, considering that movies like Despicable Me, Baby Driver, The Big Sick, Wonder Woman, they've all just they're on this trend now of back-to-back weeks where they're down maybe 30% or less. And Big Sick was the only one from the week before last weekend that did not have that 30% incremental drop. It was on that upward trend thanks to its upward rise in theater count, which is a bit of a hiccup to the whole theory. But again, in its third week, Baby Driver went down 33%. In its seventh week, Wonder Woman went down 30%. We now look to its fourth and eighth week, respectively. Wonder Woman went down 32%. Big Sick in its fifth week and its second full week in its wide release, down 33%. Baby Driver, down 30% again. Despicable Me 3 went down 32%. So it's in this weird groove where if you're only getting its previous week cut by a third, if you play that strategy, it's a good hedge, but what do you lead out with? Do you think that Emoji is going to take the kids' audience? Do you think Atomic Blonde is the action movie we've wanted but didn't know we needed?
Yeah, this is hard. I mean, my gut says Emoji Movie is not going to do amazing. It'll be fine, maybe at 50, 40.
And then that leaves us with Dunkirk. How far does Dunkirk fall from 50 million? Like, I again, if we're going off the half to 65% sort of barometer that kind of happens in the second week drop off of a film,
Yeah.
we're looking at somewhere in the realm of possibility for the movie going from 50 to 25 at best, and then 20%. Or $20, I should say, $20 million. After that, do you try to make a multiple selection of Dunkirk and then just load up on those 30% sort of?
Well, Dunkirk and Girls Trip, you could probably load up a lot of those and be okay.
Well, see, that's
Spider-Man's
the thing.
going to be pretty steady at this point now.
Which would almost lead me to pick it, wouldn't it? Wouldn't you think?
It's probably going to be in the upper teens.
Yeah, I feel like
Next
you could
week.
still do that.
18?
15 to 19. Yeah, I'd say 18 is a good sort of pro mark for that, especially at 150 a screen. So, even if you take 2 Dunkirks, you can only give yourself 1 Spidey. If you take the Dunkirk away, you give yourself 2 more Spideys maybe. and then you give yourself almost like 175 over 4 screens. I think the maths come out to. So I would kind of do. And I wouldn't try to do Baby Driver right now, only because Atomic Blonde is going to eat up a lot of the same folks who have probably wanted to see it. That or they went to go
Exactly.
see the big blockbusters, Spider-Man, Wonder Woman, and War of the Planet of the Apes, and now they have time to go back and see something that they wanted to see, and they'll do the same thing with Atomic Blonde and see it later on.
Yeah, I think you're right.
The Retrogradians, I like to call them. Not a very good name, I know. I'm sorry.
And I think our summer is over. What's coming out? I mean, we have in the future we have The Dark Tower, but I don't know if that's going to do well. I know it's Stephen
Right.
King novels, but we have Detroit. I don't even know what some of these are.
I'm excited for Detroit. I will admit that right now. Detroit looks interestingly on a dramatic sense, but next weekend does not really. I mean, Dark Tower is the only one that really jumps out at me with Idris Elba finally getting a leading man role where he, and alongside Matthew McConaughey, no less. So that looks very intriguing. Again, I know it's off a Stephen King novel, but it looks visually wonderful, so I'm happy with that. Kidnap, your guess is as good as mine as to really. I mean, it's a Halle Berry movie. Yay. Halle Berry is
Yeah, but
visually
she doesn't
delightful.
mean anything anymore. Her relevance.
Whoa, those are strong words. Strong
In the theater,
words.
she doesn't draw audiences anymore.
Okay.
She's
all right.
not the big name Hollywood star as she used to be. It's nothing against her.
We are getting ahead of ourselves. At this rate, Halle Berry, who's actually executive producing the film as well, the last time we saw Halle Berry in a movie was 1994. No, 2014's X-Men's Days of Future Past.
And that was a cameo, basically, briefly.
Yes, she was there for a second. She was also in The Call.
She stormed on the screen and then
Cloud
stormed off.
Atlas. Oh, really? Really? Come on. Stormed on and stormed off.
Well, you ruined my Doctor Who joke, and so here we go. I didn't do a Star Trek joke.
Okay. What do you call a frog that's parked illegally?
Oh, I don't know.
Soon to be towed.
Ooh, that is good. That is good.
Don't give me credit for that. That's terrible. It's just terrible. Oh yes, let's not forget Halle Berry's classic 1994 role in The Flintstones. Yes, that's why I was going with 1990s, because that was one of the few movies I'm like, oh wait, Halle Berry was in that. Son of a gun. Of course, 2001 Swordfish. That she was a Bond girl in Die Another Day. That was 2002. Holy. Yeah. Yath. Yath. Preach. Yath. Yath. Really? Well, she was also Catwoman. Regrettably. Turning 51 this year, Halle Berry. Woohoo!
Extent is her show. It's a sci-fi show, I believe.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I've only
different.
heard good things about it. So,
She was in the Kevin Hart documentary. What now? That was a documentary. That was not a documentary. That was a stand-up performance.
I bet it was a short documentary.
I mean, that's weird to call that a documentary. That's whatever. That I think is wrong. Anyway, so I will. You know what? I'm gonna give away my screen. I'm gonna tell y'all right now what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put movies out there. Yeah. Good night, everyone. Woo! I know that was so helpful. I'm gonna put 8 movies on 8 screens. No, not 8 different movies. Just 8 total. Yeah, I know. I'm being vague. I'm sorry. You're right.
What is happening? Did the dad jokes break your brain?
No, a lot of things have broken my brain. It wasn't just the dad jokes.
It's the mouse.
No, it's not even that. Because my fear is that if I go with the 2 leading opening weekend candidates together, I'm shortchanging a lot on what I would want to add on. If I put 2 of the movie I want to do, I don't think it's going to beat out the one of another or comboing that with another. This is rough. This is rougher than anything I've seen in a while because we don't have a expectation for either of the two debut movies that we can kind of sink our teeth into. Like this is new waters for both of these films. It's not a Spider-Man where you've seen him in Captain America: Civil War. It's not a War for the Planet of the Apes, which has had a few movies in the past.
Neither are films that people have been begging for, I think is
But
what you're
they're
saying.
excited to see nonetheless. It's strange because I can't forecast readily to give you a solid number as to what the right MO is to go this weekend because the first instinct I had was to go one Dunkirk, one Atomic Blonde, and then load up on the Big Sick because that's still a grown-up comedy that the kids won't be going to see. But I'm leaving a lot of money behind in doing that. So instead of just loading on six Big Sick, which has been the safe play now for 3 weeks going, or 2 weeks going at least, I'm going to throw in the Despicable Me 3. But no, that's even sketchier too because you're going to lose out to Emoji for the kids who are going to go see that. First world problems.
I know this is tough.
And again, I'm afraid of what Spider-Man could fall off with Atomic Blonde coming out. You know,
Yeah,
this is maddening.
I know because like I'm looking at War for the Planet of the Apes. Yeah, it's gonna drop, but it'll still be
I mean, last weekend
maybe
it
eight
dropped
million.
63%, and I don't know if it. But that's the thing: 8 million on $126 a screen. You're throwing money out.
Yeah, I know, but a lot of the other movies below War of the Planet of the Apes on our what we can choose, they're not gonna do big bucks.
Yeah. Here's my bold statement of the week. Ready? Don't
Guardians
pick
all the
Dunkirk.
way, right?
No, don't pick Dunkirk.
Ah,
I am saying don't pick Dunkirk. If you're gonna go for something that's over $300, bite the bullet on Emoji, and give yourself one Atomic Blonde to pair with that. I
yeah.
think I think that is honestly the way to go, based on its price per screen and its projections. And I really think Atomic Blonde is going to go over 30. I really do. I think Dunkirk will fall to somewhere in the 20 to 22 and a half range, and that's not going to be good enough to. And if you play it twice, I think it hurts more than helps. I don't think and I haven't been able to pick a bonus performer accurately since we've gone on our hiatus. I will admit that straight out.
It's because all the pee that we were breathing in
Oh, I
our
know.
tent. I mean, that really screwed us up.
I will say that your bonus performer will still come from a move. It could potentially be Atomic Blonde, but you're not going to reap a lot of benefit out of that at $2 million bonus in one screen. And I can't ask people to play it on multiples because I just don't. I don't. If again at $289 million, they are projecting it's going to hit 29 million in weekend gross. I think it's going to go over, which would kind of lean it towards a bonus performer nomination. But where does that leave movies like Big Sick, Wonder Woman, and Despicable Me? Is Despicable Me right now at 13 only going to fall to 10 or 9? Baby Driver, is that going to dip another 30% and that go to about 4, maybe 3.5? Because again, Baby Driver, I'm expecting to do no better than 3.5 again with Atomic Blonde coming out. This is the macro and micro side. It's the hardcore statistics. Woohoo! Yes.
Yeah, this is tough.
Again, I'm looking at movies like Wish Upon, Cars 3, Transformers. If those movies are making more than $1.5 million, you could consider it a win.
Yeah,
But I can't ask you to pick that. Unless you have just pennies on the dollar to fill the rest of your screens, it doesn't make sense to do that. And to ask you to go for 3 Atomic Blondes, hoping it will beat the projections, and then, this is not a fun week. Do you have any insight as to what you would want to do for your screens, sir?
I really don't. I mean, I was playing around with Emoji, then Atomic Blonde, and then like for Wonder Woman and then stuck with like a wish upon.
Ugh.
And that not I've been playing with tons of scenarios and none of them just seem good to me. Because Girl
I
Trip, that might
know.
be something still good to choose. Atomic Blonde, yes. Emoji, sure. But it's almost like you either have to do Emoji or Atomic Blonde. Maybe not both. Because if you do both, then you're stuck with like a bunch of Guardians,
True.
which is not going to do anything. That's at 17
Yeah, it did
in the box
$300,000
office.
last week.
Yeah,
I can't
so
tell you to go see that.
and they've had their time.
Yes.
Even Wonder Woman's a stretch to choose at this point. But
Yeah.
at least she's making, she made 4.6 million last week. But she's not going to do that again. She'll drop down to 2.5 to 3.
Yeah. There will be Thursday premieres for both.
Oh, really?
And
Okay.
I'm just kind of examining my semi-large market here in Orlando, Florida, and I'm seeing a lot of. I'm seeing some places where it's getting 6 showtimes for both. I'm seeing where they're only getting 3 or 4 for both, and there are some that are only doing 2 showings of Atomic Blonde with 5 showings of the Emoji Movie on a Thursday night. And again, that counts into your Friday.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
but
I made sure to wash the tent so we can get back out there maybe Wednesday night.
yeah,
Or tonight. We can.
Yeah, tonight might
we're
be that
recording on a
night.
Wednesday. We can go out there tonight.
That's an idea, just to get the idea of the forecasting for the rest of our folks.
Yeah, I made waffles. We can have some cold waffles out there.
Yes.
They're all emoji-shaped waffles too. So.
Ooh. Here's where I kind of give my indication as to what the rest of the country would look like in terms of Thursdays and the weekend. Emoji Movie is coming out on 6 screens at the AMC theater that is inside the Disney World Resort in their little shopping, retail, and dining emporium known as Disney Springs. There are 6 showings of the movie of the Emoji, as I mentioned. Half of those are 3D, half of those are not. They're only doing 4 Atomic Blondes. And of the ones where they're doing Atomic Blondes, 2 of those are AMC's dine-in concept, where they're giving you dinner in a movie. There's no dine-ins available for the Emoji Movie. And I don't know if that's because it's just not a hit with that market. The
Well, it's
dining
because there's
concept,
poop in the movie, and then they don't want.
if
they
you're
don't want people to
eating and
vomit.
then you're pooping, and it's not a good mix. That's
One of the
tough to clean up.
jokes in the trailer was dad poop and baby poop walking out of a bathroom stall, and saying the dad poop's like, "Hey, did you wash your hands?" And then they both laugh, walking away because they're poop. They don't need to wash anything.
That is horrible.
I know.
I don't like it. That's weird. Fun fact, Detroit is in a limited release this week. It gets a nationwide next week. We did not mention that properly. Sorry. Sadly, we cannot pick a very, very interesting movie coming out this weekend. An inconvenient sequel, Truth to Power. The second wonderful Al Gore environmentality documentary. And this is not
I think
me
you just
poo-pooing.
warmed the globe with that little fart.
No,
there.
I'm not poo-pooing global warming. I think global warming is legit. I just don't want the man who invented the internet to make a movie about, again, global warming and the environment. Can you just go back to obscurity, Mr. Gore? Mr. Vice President, will you please?
If his truth is inconvenient, we can just find some alternative ones.
Yeah. Like blaming Mexico. I don't know. That's a fun thing to do. Isn't that what the popular governmental sentiment is? I don't know. That's what some people are saying. Or blame Obama. Still, 17 years later for his Obamacare. Yes,
Hey, we could blame Bush still too.
Yes, right. Should have thrown the shoe harder at him. You remember that some guy threw a shoe at Bush?
I remember, yeah.
And then he just looked at him like, you have a terrible aim.
And then the other shoe fell. Should we do answer last week's trivia question?
Well, yeah, because we can't pick 8 movies to save our lives right now. Let's go ahead and answer
You're on
last
your own,
week's.
people.
Yep, good luck. We're all counting on you. So, yes, last week we asked the trivia question, which we recapped earlier in the day in our recording. Christopher Nolan director, writer extraordinaire of many, many films over the last decade and a half. What has been the 3 highest grossing opening weekend films he has produced that have not been part of the Batman trilogy? Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises. Opinions withstanding. At number 3 on the list, Insomnia from 2002 Memorial Day weekend, starring Al Pacino, Robin Williams, and Hilary Swank.
I love the Swank.
It was the highest grossing debut of opening weekend films. However, Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, and the original Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire had already been out in theaters and did more monies than that debut.
That's a good time at the movies. I enjoyed Attack of the Clones.
It was a good film.
Despite
also
any acting problems, but whatever.
Yeah, well, I still blame Jar Jar. The other movies that were also out in the theaters at that time, The New Guy, Changing Lanes, The Scorpion King, About a Boy, My Big Fat Greek Wedding, and The Rookie.
Windex cures all.
By the way, Lord of the Rings: The Fellowship in the Ring in that weekend of Memorial Day was in its 23rd week in the cinema and made $358,000.
All right.
So was A Beautiful Mind.
All right.
But that was then.
What is the next film?
So yeah, number 2 of the Christopher Nolan films that did come out to an opening weekend of his highest outside of the Batman series was Interstellar, $47.5 million, the weekend of November 5th, 2014, which also saw the coming out of Big Hero 6.
Good movie. Both good movies.
Lots of good Stargate sort of Easter eggs in Big Hero 6 from what I remember. But yeah, Interstellar, $47.5 million. In that weekend of November the 5th, it was actually the number 2 movie in theaters, no surprise, behind Big Hero 6. But both did over $45 million that weekend. No other movie was over double-digit millions in that particular weekend, in which other movies included Gone Girl, John Wick, not debuting, but just in the theaters.
I still need to see John Wick.
So do I. Ironically enough, the guy who directed John Wick, David Leitch, he's the guy that is also directing Atomic Blonde.
And a lot of the stunt coordinators are working second unit on Infinity Wars.
Nice.
So the action's going to be great. And I think they worked on Civil War as well.
Yay. I'm happy for that. But yes, number 2 was Interstellar, starring all right, Matthew McConaughey. And
yeah.
He's so dreamy. Anne Hathaway, who's also very dreamy. And Jessica Chastain, also equally dreamy. Sorry, getting lost in my own thoughts. Interstellar was number 2. Number 1, which probably shouldn't be a surprise to terribly a lot of you who are fans of the cinema, and that was Inception. Back in July of 2010, Inception had an opening weekend of $62.7 million, which was actually higher than Batman Begins.
Very nice. Is the top still spinning, Alex?
No, I hope not. Goodness. So yeah, that came out 2 days after the Nicolas Cage starring Sorcerer's Apprentice, which everyone ran to go and see, I am sure.
I forgot that was a movie.
Yes, Nicolas Cage, Jay Baruchel, Alfred Molina, and Monica Bellucci, directed by John Turteltaub. Which,
boy!
In its opening weekend, made $17.6 million. But yeah, again, it came out the same weekend as Inception, and someone did better than the other.
Yeah, that movie blew my mind. It was
Not
a great
in a good
film.
way.
No, Inception blew my mind. That's
Oh, okay. I was gonna say I thought you were talking about Sorcerer's Apprentice.
What an excellent
Yes.
example of a fascinating premise executed well, and it's tied directly to character.
Inception.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
No, Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Okay, good.
No,
We are talking about Inception. Yes, in its opening weekend, did $62.7 million, which led it to eventually have a domestic gross of $292.5 million here in domestic markets, but it was only 35% of its total overall worldwide gross. $532.95 million international.
And this
Impressive.
is why Christopher Nolan can make Dunkirk.
Yep.
It's not going to make tons of money, but he made it.
Well, I think Dunkirk's going to do well internationally. I think the European and especially the UK crowd is going to come out to see it because nobody talks about the UK in war movies because they needed the US for help, and the US big movie cinemas and big blockbuster studios would be like, hey, we'll talk about America and how great we are at wars. We're undefeated in world wars. Yeah.
America.
Undefeated in world wars. I don't know if that's a logical stat because would we consider Vietnam a loss or a tie?
Is that a world war?
No, it wasn't.
My friend Jordan on 4th of July, he wore a shirt that said 2-time World War champ.
Yeah, undefeated in world wars. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense. Vietnam War was not considered a world war, so there you go.
We'll see what happens with World War III.
Yeah,
Which,
Looking
according
forward
to Star Trek's timeline, happens in 2053.
Oh crap, I'll be alive then.
Yeah. But
I'll
then
be
aliens come down on the planet in 2063 in Montana.
Oh. Really?
Okay, I did my Star Trek stuff for the day. I even got to mention Stargate. So, what is this week's trivia question from Alexander?
Well, that is a good question as to trivia. We've gotten a lot of money makers in terms of how much has been the top 3 or top 5. I'm going to give you a true or false. A little different, a little interesting.
For those that are struggling to answer our questions and they don't want to do the research, you can simply type in #AlexTrivia and then true or false.
Yes, it makes it very easy. True or false. One word. Not both words because it can't both be the case, but only one word. Because of Atomic Blonde coming out, and her other action film this year was Fate of the Furious. If y'all remember that, she actually was in that movie. Fun fact.
Still haven't seen that one either.
Oh, don't worry. You'll find a way, I'm sure.
So do we have a question?
Yes, Charlize Theron, true or false, she has won an Academy Award for a film that she has appeared in a leading role.
Okay. So we are having them on Twitter.
Yes.
At Alex_Salvo.
Yes.
Or at Spock and Solo or at Shelf Nerds. You can reply saying #AlexTrivia. And then either write the movie in that you think she won a leading role.
Yes, true or false, did she win a Academy Award or an Oscar, however you want to define that, for a leading role? And if so, which movie? Because kids love those if so, why sort of questions, you know?
No, they don't. They hate them, and that's why I put them on the tests.
They're so bad. I hate them.
But they're easy to write as the teacher. Yeah.
Yes. And they're like, oh, why did he do this?
But you know what? Then that just means I have to grade the if so answer.
Yeah, right. Good heavens.
So
what are you listening to, reading, and or nerding out on this week, Chris?
our weekly recommend.
Yes, the weekly recommendations.
It returns.
Yes.
Well, I recently rewatched Iron Man 3 for an upcoming essay I'm doing on Tony Stark and why he should die.
Ah! That escalated quickly.
Little tease there. You know, when it first came out, people were not enthusiastic about it because there's a kid in it, blah, blah, blah. And the man glowing, breathing fire. And I think Guy Ritchie, is it? I don't know. Anyway, I always enjoyed it because it was a good study of Tony, bringing him back to, quote unquote, the cave, stripping him of all his technology. He has to kind of MacGyver his way to become a hero. So, good movie. Fun movie. Yeah, there's some silly campiness, and then the Mandarin reveal is kind of dumb. But once you accept that that's in it, it's kind of quirky. And, of course, RDJ is stellar in his comedic, portrayal of the character, but also the dramatic one, too.
The guy that you were thinking of and attempting to quote was Guy Pearce,
That's it.
who played Aldrich Killian,
Yes.
using Ben Kingsley as a figurehead as the Mandarin. Sir Ben
Which,
Kingsley.
is
excuse me.
actually pretty funny.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I'm not a deep entrenched Iron Man fan from the comics, so I could see if you are a real Iron Man fan and they take this beloved villain and turn it into that. Well, I could probably see the upset, but I was not.
Yep. Yep.
And you, sir, what are you watching, reading? Oh, actually, I do have one more. I've been reading Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. Fascinating
Oh.
book for the non-believer and the believer alike. If you are a thinker and you're inquisitive, you want to understand Christianity from an intellectual point of view, great book to pick up. Not too long, almost done with it, and I recommend that this week.
So the thing I'm about to dive into is on Netflix. Hooray!
Yay! That means I don't have to get off the couch and put a DVD in.
Nope. It's great. But I do miss the ability to get the DVDs in the mail,
Like I have every season and every series of Stargate, 3 series and all their seasons.
Yeah.
And I don't rewatch it, even though I want to, because that means I would have to get my box sets and periodically put the discs in. Isn't that really sad?
That's annoying. I am actually on the Netflix thumbing through my list and trying to, because you always look at something and you're the in between times when you're just thumbing through. I'm like, what am I gonna watch? What am I gonna watch? I don't know what I want to watch. And I'm gonna put that on my list. I'll watch it later. Oh, I'm gonna put that on my list. I'll watch it later. Wifey and I.
Yes, the infinite list.
Yes, the infinite list. My wife and I have gotten through 5 episodes now of American Crime Story: The People versus O.J. Simpson.
Oh, I've heard this is good.
From the FX series, yes. Cuba Gooding Jr. portraying the Orenthal James Simpson criminal character. Courtney B. Vance, Sarah Paulson, Sterling Brown, John Travolta, and even Nathan Lane and David Schwimmer are a part of the cast, which is very cool. But yes, it's kind of the dramatic portrayal of the famous crime and courtroom drama that took place of the double homicide of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman, essentially thought of to be a slam dunk for the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office. But as it unravels before their very eyes, we know the end story, but it's just kind of fun to watch how these actors from across different sort of mediums and all come together to explain this story as it was seen almost 25 years later.
There was kind of an OJ renaissance in the past couple of years where a lot of work focused on him and that case was kind of dulling out to the public.
I mean,
Interesting.
It's been an amazing fall from grace over the last 25 plus years from a man who was absolutely beloved for what he did on the screen, on the football field, and in the broadcast booth, to then being a convicted armed robber and kidnapper and then acquitted for a double murder. But somehow people will say they found him guilty of their wrongful deaths in a civil suit, which is weird to say that they admit that he did it, which never was proven true in a criminal court of law.
Hey, it catches up with you eventually.
Yeah, who knows? But yeah, he'd been out of football at that point for about 20 some odd years, or almost about 15, no, about 10, 12, 15 years, I think, to that point. But he was a historically great football player in the 70s, so it was just one of those things that, moving back in time, you think of it, 1992, it was the end of the Ford Bronco as we knew it because of that car chase. Ford is just like, why, OJ? Why the Ford Bronco? Why could you have picked any other vehicle? But no, it was the end of the Ford Bronco. Had a good run, the Ford Bronco. They say it's going to make a comeback in 2020.
Well, enough time has passed, I guess.
Yeah, it had a 30-year run, and now over 30 or 20 years after its demise in 96, it's going to make a triumphant comeback, assumably. Woohoo. The legendary Ford Bronco. Anyway, it's tumbled down the rabbit hole from the People versus OJ into the Ford Bronco loving that I've been nailing out. But yeah, wife and I are watching FX's original series, The People versus OJ Simpson.
So how does a criminal communicate in jail? They use cell phone.
He get. Right.
What happened to the coffee when it was walking around late at night outside?
I don't know.
It got mugged.
Okay.
I'm not looking these
What
up,
is-
ladies and gentlemen. I'm not looking them up.
I know. What is brown and sticky?
Ooh, I don't know.
A stick.
Ooh, that's good. That's good.
So you are watching, again, just to recap, or reading.
Mere
your
Christianity.
Yes. It's
For
from
the
C.S. Lewis.
For the inquisitive thinker out there that's not sure about that whole Christianity thing, or is a Christian, just wants to know why it makes sense to be a Christian.
Got it. And then
Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
Because Tony Stark should die, and I'm doing some research for a video.
And you're also listening to Kendrick Lamar.
No, see, I need to. No,
Oh, okay.
I'm listening to Iron Man movie soundtracks.
Okay, there's a lot on your plate then right now.
Yeah, very important things. I got one side, the eternal salvation of my soul, and the other side, Tony Stark.
Interesting. Very cool.
Okay, well, shall we conclude there, sir?
I think we can wrap this up. So again, week 9. Just want to remind you, good luck. We're all counting on you. No, I just butchered an airplane quote. Holy poop. Let's try that again.
Holy
I just want to remind
emoji
you both.
poop?
No, not the emoji poop. Just general, just brown bag sitting in a doorstep on fire poop. But no, we don't know what to tell you to pick this week. We're stumped. We have absolutely no idea what will be the bonus performer. We have no idea what any movie's going to make. You're on your own. And as Dr. Rumick once said, I just want to remind you both, good luck. We're all counting on you. That was the quote from Airplane.
I haven't seen it. I know my brother loves it.
It's a top 5 all-time comedy movie as declared by the American Film Institute.
I know. My brother is a comedy nerd and he loves it.
It's
So
so
someday I
good.
will see it.
It's so good. What time did the man go to the dentist?
Tooth hurty.
Okay.
I think that's a good place to stop because we gotta get some better jokes. What do you think, Alex?
Indeed. Good luck with your movies in cinemas this week. We will see you at the movies.
Da da da. This was unnecessarily bloated. I guess to make up for last week.